Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Breaking Rank, the podcast where we lead without permission. I am here today with my great friend, Jeffery Epting. Hi, Jeff.
What's up, D?
Thank you for joining us here today. I'm so excited about this episode because we're going to touch on a lot of important subjects today, but what I really want to focus on is leading without permission and leading without authority. And I think in Jeff's story, we're going to touch on some of those insights about how you can be a leader without the title. So Jeff, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm always happy to spend time with you, D.
Thank you.
Yeah, you go way back.
Yes, we go way back. And I've actually had you as a guest on another podcast that I did about a year and a half ago, which your episode was definitely viewed. I don't know why.
Boyish good looks. I don't know.
It must be. It must be. We will dive into some of those topics in a minute. So, Jeff, I want you to just tell us a little bit about your background. How did you grow up? Like, how did you become the Jeff Epting that we know today?
That's a real long story. Let me see if I can come up with a condensed version. All right, so yeah, I was born in Chicago, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
But we moved to Nebraska when I was 6, so I consider myself a Nebraskan more than anything. My dad was a railroader. That's how we got there. I have 8 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine this very black family with 9 kids in western Nebraska. So not Omaha where we met, but in western Nebraska. And that definitely shaped me. I learned a lot out there.
What was it like being a black man, a dark-skinned black boy,
yeah.
right? In rural Nebraska?
It was very, I don't know, it was definitely a benefit because I learned a lot about humanity in a way that I wouldn't have learned elsewhere. And one thing that I was actually, I explained to people sometimes, like my cousins are from Chicago, right? My cousins experienced a different kind of racism than I did. They experienced systemic racism. But since there were so few black people where I'm from, there was no systems that they could kind of exclude me from. So I didn't experience systemic racism. I experienced somebody calling me nigger, you know what I mean?
Wow.
A few times, quite a few times if I'm being honest. But if you ask me which one is harder, the systemic stuff is harder. So I feel like I was actually rather fortunate even with all of that. So yeah, being a black boy in Nebraska, I learned that there were people who genuinely loved me and were racist. I don't think they knew they were racist. You know, they didn't want to be, you know, but you get close to somebody's daughter, stuff comes out.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
And you just learn that all of this is complex. So, like, we like to make these like stories of heroes and villains, and that's not really what it is. It's just people trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And we're all operating inside of these systems.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I learned a lot, like foundationally, about how people move, and it allows me to move with more empathy and an understanding of where people are, even if I firmly disagree with them. I understand people well, and it helps.
Yeah. And your family was deeply religious. And I think that has shaped the person that you have become.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your family's religious ideology.
Okay, so we grew up as independent fundamental Baptists. Now, when I tell people that, the thing they hear is Baptist, so they're like, "Oh, okay, I got it." And I'm like, "No, you don't get it. It was different. Like it was very different." The fundamental part was really like we didn't celebrate Christmas. I think around age 13, my mom snatched Christmas from us. My dad always hated all that, so that caused a lot of conflict between my mom and dad. And we just grew up, you know, like we were earnest. I think that was a good thing about it. Most of us were very earnest about it. So when the preacher was preaching a thing, we're like, yeah. So we really tried to live that way. But you do see the people who are preaching it the hardest not living it. And it still deconstructing to this day, you know. But I love it because I know the Bible well. You know, so like when people come at me with like their spiritual arguments, like I know these better than you most likely. Shout out to moms. My mom don't even like arguing with me no more because she trained me too well. This is her fault. So sorry, Mom, I love you.
You took me to church with you one time and I was in shock. I was like, where are we?
Yeah.
This
was in Omaha, right? You didn't come to my hometown.
No. I did not go to North Platte. Yes, I was in Omaha.
Yeah. And like I'm sure you realize this is so white. And I don't think people like fully appreciate, because you see me, you just kind of assume, because
Mm-hmm.
churches are reasonably segregated places. So you kind of assume that there's like more, but no, it is a very Eurocentric place. And like you get taught to look down on your own culture. I remember hearing in church things like, oh yeah, rap music is the most evil music because there's more words with which you can um, offend God in your lyrics. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's weird. It was like, oh yeah, if a song has a beat to it and it makes you want to dance, that's of the devil. And I was like, the drums from Africa, and that's my people. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, and like contending with those messages when you're just a little kid. Like one thing that I'm really grateful for, and I think I credit both of my parents for this. I did hear the messages and I clocked it. I clocked the anti-blackness in the message, even as a little shorty. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was good. But you're contending with that, and it does seep in. I would love to tell you that I just was completely confident this whole time. Nah, that's my confidence took a hit, and
Yeah.
still like that negative self-talk that I developed in that time is something I'm still trying to work through in this day. Doing a lot better. I'm excited about that, but it's something that you just continue to work through.
Yeah. And I met you in college.
Yeah,
We are brothers and sisters.
that's right.
I'm
That's right.
Zeta Phi Beta,
Phi Beta Sigma.
Phi Beta Sigma, Zeta Phi Beta Sigma.
That's right. That's right. Blue
So we are Blue Phi.
Phi.
And I always thought of you as a leader when I
Yeah.
met you. When I met you in Omaha in particular, Omaha was, there were Black Greek organizations
Mm-hmm.
there, but I don't know, I feel like when all of us joined, it just like the party really started. And all of a sudden, Black Greek life took on a whole other form in Omaha. And I'm not saying it's just because of me or Jeff,
No.
but it just in general, we came at a time when Greek life, Black Greek life, was there. It was present, but it wasn't hype, and it wasn't. Everyone wasn't trying to join a Black fraternity or sorority.
No, not at the time.
No, not at the time. And you were one of the leaders in Phi Beta Sigma at the time. I remember you and Sharif and others.
Shout out Sharif. That's my man. Oh,
Yes.
Sharif, Boris, Adrian, my man Philip, my dean. Yeah, shout out to him. Yeah, they really passed the torch. And also, gotta shout out your big sisters. Anita, Shannon, Keisha,
Yep.
etc. Toya,
Jonice. Yep.
Yeah. Like they were like passing the baton to us, it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
And so I came in as a solo. And, we were just kind of in this lull. And I just kind of went about my leadership. How old was I? 20 years old? I didn't know nothing. None of us know anything. So, and I went about my leadership like, yeah, I just want to help this community that I just moved to, because I moved to Omaha. I'm not from there. And I was like, yeah, I just want to be a positive part of it. And that's really what got me into it, because I saw Sharif and Philip and Adrian on campus sometimes. And I was like, I like what these brothers are trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grow up in Black Greek culture. I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was I saw these brothers and I was like, yo, I want to be down with that. So I came in and started moving towards like doing more community service.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to have the money to do the things I wanted to do, we had to have dope parties. And also I like to have fun.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing both of those things very well. And I just had a mind for trying to facilitate those things. I feel like growing up without a lot of money, and my parents actually, my dad made a good amount of money. My mom stayed home. So it's not like we grew up poor or anything. We just didn't grow up super well off. And they kind of taught me to hustle, so I figured I would hustle my way into like getting us enough money to throw a party and then keep us self-sustaining. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we had a blast in the process.
And you also helped recruit a lot of newcomers to the fraternity as well.
Yeah. I think my sense of self at that time was actually helpful in that, because I never really tried to be anything other than who I was. Mm-hmm. And it helped to draw so many different personalities.
Yeah.
Right. So that like I didn't bring in a bunch of me's. I brought in everything.
Yeah.
And then I didn't like try to lead in the front all the time either. Like our man was right over here. The camera's not going to go to him, but Dio, like that's a guy who draws people. So one of the best leadership decisions I've ever made in Sigma was like I was trying to like make Dio into like this kind of brother. And I was like, that's stupid. Why am I doing that? And I just let Dio be Dio. And I organized like how I would lead around just who he is instead of who I think he should be. Mm-hmm. chapter took off pretty much from that, you know, and that's how I kind of treated everybody in the organization. It's like, who are you and what do you bring? Do that.
That's an important quality in a leader, though, is recognizing that everyone doesn't need to be like you.
Correct.
In order to lead. And Correct. That's one of the core principles of breaking rank is that, you know, leadership comes in different forms. Mm-hmm. And we don't all have to be the same cookie cutter shape or mold of leadership in order to be able to lead and do big things.
Yeah. And not only did I lead, our organization led. Like what we were doing when they passed the baton to us, that is what sparked the rest of the Divine Nine to actually start to become more popular, get more members and everything, because there was a ecosystem for them that we kind of like, I want to say, kind of revived, you know, because it was pretty chill at that moment. And I love that we just had so much diversity in our crew. And one of the things, just for the breaking rank thing, you know, I got the Outstanding Chapter President of the Year for the university, right?
No, I did not know that. Congrats.
The 2003-2004 school year, I was Outstanding Chapter President for the year, right? Wow. But the funniest thing about that, I wasn't the president. I was the vice president.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just moved in a way. Like everyone's like, he the president, you know? And yeah, I didn't need the title. So when I did eventually become president. The first thing I did, like after a month, I was like, I resign. I nominate Troy. And because I was just trying to set a system where we would keep the baton going, because I didn't want it to be about me. So I just kind of set up structures. And once I felt the structure was set, I was like, y'all got it. Yeah. And they've had it ever since too.
Yeah, so. It's been great. And some of the sleep outs for the homeless and those kinds of things are still going on from when, 20 years ago when we were there. So your legacy lives on for sure.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that time.
Yeah. That was a really fun time to be on campus. Yeah, definitely. We did.
We were wilding.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit to something that's a little more sensitive.
Okay.
I want to talk about what happened with you in college with your dad.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
When we were in college, we were good friends. And I remember getting a phone call from you and you telling me about your father. Do you want to share some of what happened?
I mean, it's open source, so sure. Yeah, so my dad, he's right here. He passed away a few years ago. Yeah, I got a call. It was, I'm pretty sure it was October 25th, 2005. I was in grad school. And I was in a program where I was a full-time high school math teacher and a full-time student at the same time, getting my master's in a year. So, it's really busy. It's pretty intense, but I definitely love the work. And my mom calls me and she's like, yeah, you want to sit down for this? And I was like, I'm good, Mom. And I was expecting her to say something about my dad's health, because he wasn't particularly healthy at the time or whatever. But yeah, she proceeded to tell me that the cops had arrested him under suspicion of murder. And I was like, oh. There's a lot of detail to that. I think what was really crazy was like the next day, that was a Thursday. The next day I go to school. I'm teaching in front of the kids in Omaha, Nebraska. My dad's still in North Platte. And one of the kids in first period is like, so is your dad John Epting? And I was like, I thought I had more time to process this on my own. But I had to start processing, in public pretty immediately. And yeah, that was heavy. That was really heavy. I learned that my way to respond to extreme stress like that is to kind of go numb. So everyone around me kind of thought I was okay. Well, I wasn't okay. It was pretty tough. And the family dynamics, there's so much I could go into. I would say that the most valuable lesson I learned from all of that was that, remember I told you there were people in Nebraska who loved me, genuinely loved me, and were racist. And it's like, how do you square those things? My dad is that, because my dad is my hero. Like, my dad grew up without a dad. He had no picture of a role model of a dad. And when he met my mom and they met in college, they got pregnant. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna marry this woman and I'm gonna be a dad. And then had 8 more kids with her. And he was just there figuring it out. Because again, he had no model for this on the south side of Chicago where he grew up. No model at all. And he loved it. Like, he really loved being a dad. And he's a imperfect man. He was also a really good dad to me and my older brothers, my younger sister. Things got weird as the youngest got older, so he wasn't as good a dad for them, sadly. But I got a really good dad. And he also did this thing. Right. And
how do you love the person and not love the thing that they did that is what they will now probably be defined by?
Yeah, like that's how the rest of the world sees him. And I just accept it. I think that's the thing. Like, yeah, you do see him that way because that's all you know of him. I can't expect you to see him how I see him. So see him that way. If you see my dad as a monster, as a bad guy, he is. That's correct. He is also the dad who raised me to be as gentle as I am today. You know, my dad, this big, towering, intimidating figure, also had this laugh that would just light up a room.
Yeah.
And when at a party, he would just do the same old two-step, but he was just the life of the party. And he would show you how he was proud of you in ways that just felt so powerful, but he was just being him. You know, like, there was so much good about him that I got, that I get to carry on. And you know, I'm a bad decision away from ending up how he ended up. And, you know, we don't get to just, there's not heroes and villains. There's just good decisions and bad decisions. You know what I mean? And so far, I've made a series of good decisions to not go there. And I think I'll continue to do that. But yeah, it's just having grace for people and seeing people as more complex than the worst thing that they ever did or the best thing they ever did too.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's really powerful, actually. And I know I've struggled in my life trying to reconcile who my dad was and what I learned from him. I don't probably have as many of the great positive memories, but there are certain things that I remember about my dad where he encouraged me to get straight A's and to, you know, really achieve, and would try to celebrate my successes in those ways. And at the same time was living this completely nefarious lifestyle that was just very,
was a wild boy, wasn't he?
yeah. We had, I mean, my dad had so many kids at at his funeral. We all wore Papa Was a Rolling Stone shirts to his funeral because there were like 30 of us that showed up, and that's not even all of us.
We grieve different, don't we?
Yes, we do. And that was a bonding moment. So what do you think you learned from your dad about leadership?
Quietness and gentleness, I think. One thing that my dad taught us, this is kind of micro, but I don't know, I kind of blew it up into bigger things. He would teach us that when the cops come, you know, and we've had our run-ins with the cops over some, you know, regular nonsense or whatever. My dad was so disarming. And it's because I believe it was because he was just so confident in who he was as a person. So when they would come to his backyard, his property, by the way, and under no suspicion, they're just coming to like see what's going on, he would immediately go on his knees, put his hands behind his head like this, but just have conversation. So he doesn't seem like he's submitting. He just seems like he's chilling. And like he would be talking to him real chill or whatever. And then when the interaction is over, he's like, make him feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Just make him feel comfortable. It'll be fine. You ain't do nothing. He just didn't get loud, even though he was fully capable of wreaking havoc if he wanted to. You know, but he always kept it chill. I remember one time I was 18 years old, and there was this older white man, which is funny, by the way, right? Because now I'm much older than that man is right now. I'm really struggling with age. Anyway, there was this older white man who was probably 30, I would imagine. But I'm 18. And my friend Fernando, he's 19. But Fernando's small. And this older man was picking on him. So I got between them, but I didn't say a word. I just stood there between them and wouldn't let him do anything. This man touched my face and everything. He didn't get too hype, but he touched my face. And I thought my dad would be ashamed when I had to tell him what happened. But I stood strong. I didn't move. I just didn't let him pick on my mans, you know? And when I told my dad that story, he told me how proud he was of me because he understood what I also understood because he taught me. Those sheriff's deputies over there, they saw him touch your face, but if you do anything in return, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
So I kept my composure, right, and protected my man's without doing a lot of rah-rah. And he was just so proud of me, and the way he expressed that to me was just, it meant everything to me.
Yeah.
But I did learn that from him, and he was like also telling me that I learned the lesson. And that is how I lead. I try not to get too much bravado in it. I just lead with a quiet confidence, but resilience. Like, I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. Like if I'm standing on it, I'm standing on it. I will not move.
And I saw you, and you did move actually to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I did.
I saw you kind of pick everything up. You were one of the first in our crew back in the day to actually move away and get a job. And you worked in public education.
That's right. Yeah,
for many years in PG County as a math teacher. Yeah. How was that experience?
Man, like in retrospect, I was so young and stupid, but I did have this like really positive impact on the kids, and some of those kids who are full-grown adults now, which is also very weird for me, still reach out and ask me advice. Actually, one of them hit me up. Shout out to my man Steve. You know who you are. Hit me up like, yeah, I know you lived in England for a minute. Like, tell me about that. Like, cause I'm looking to do something like that too. And I just like in ways, I don't think they realize this, but in ways we grew up together, you know, and it was so much fun. I became a math teacher because I had a couple of really good math teachers in high school that made me feel like I could do anything, you know, and it's like, I just want to give that feeling to other kids. So that's like, I was a sophomore in high school, like, yeah, that's what I want to do with my life, you know? And when I did that in PG County, when I did that in DC public schools, yeah, that definitely shaped me. I actually credit my teaching experience in high school to make me feel confident in having a daughter. Because my entire teaching career, I didn't have any kids yet. And a number of times, my girl students would come up to me and was like, hey, Miss Epting, you got any kids? So I was like, no, I don't have any kids yet. And like, I swear on 3 separate occasions, at least, there's probably more, they would always say, you should have a daughter. You would be good with daughters. And I was like, the first time I was like, that's weird. But after it happened a few times, I was like, I think I could be a good dad to daughters. I was very scared of that, you know? And I do have a daughter now, a son and a daughter. And like, I talked to you about that gentleness.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's how I raised them.
And your daughter is definitely a daddy's girl. So we wanted you to have a daughter because we thought you would be a good girl dad. Yeah. Some friends, we wanted to have a daughter just to kind of teach them a lesson in life.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, you know, just some mutual friends that we know. You know. Yeah.
Nah, and it's funny. I actually raised my son and daughter pretty much the same way. Like, my son also gets gentleness from me because like the world is already going to be rough on him. You know, I want our home to be a safe place to land. Yeah. So he can learn the resilience and the strength, but he doesn't have to like put that face on when he's at home. You know. So
I've seen you lead in so many different capacities. So I've seen you lead in college. I've seen you lead as a teacher, and I've seen you lead in life. And and one of the decisions that you made was to move to England during COVID. And it's at a time where your marriage was in turmoil. Yeah. And that was a big move. It was a really big move to make. Yeah. Tell me about that. What happened? You get this opportunity where you get to go abroad. Yep. You bring in your whole family. Yep. And then what happened?
Things went left. What's funny is too, like, I remember, like, I got the job opportunity, really excited about it, and just like understanding that there's a risk because my family is in this kind of weird place or whatever. But even then, like, learning how to like lead in that moment. Like, when I was in England by myself, because again, the family came, but then they weren't there. I was still dad. in a pandemic across the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
I was very much dad. I called them every morning, every evening, 5-hour time difference, but I was still there at their morning, still there at their evening to talk to them every single day. And I flew back so often. Right? I
Yeah,
was
I
spending so
remember.
much money flying back so I
Yeah.
could be with them. But it's also the pandemic, so parent teacher conferences, special education meetings, all that stuff, all that was happening on Zoom. So there were times when mom couldn't be there. She may have been sick, she may have had some work things. I was there. You
Yeah.
know, um, like not even necessarily being there in public. I'm not in person, but being able to really be dad and be that presence for them again, that gentle presence, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what I feel like they need more than anything. Yeah, that was so difficult. Right, because like my heart is breaking, I'm not there,
Yeah.
but I was there and they knew. I was actually a little scared when they came to me for the summer, like when my daughter remembered me as well. She was so young, she did. Like, and we got back to our vibe, to our groove, and it was rewarding. It was one of the hardest times of my life for sure. um but yeah, I leave from this place where I know who I am very well.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything, I'm still learning, obviously, like everyone else is, but I know myself very well, and I was able to lead from that. And I'm incredibly resilient. I don't want to be. I'm resilient because I have to be. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm incredibly resilient. And that was like, I'm proud of the work that I was able to do with my kids, and them feeling like what was traumatic for them was less traumatic for them because of how I was able to move in that space.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard
And speaking of moving in spaces, so that was also where you picked up this whole
though. I
polyamorous
did.
lifestyle.
I did. Yeah.
So I want to know, how did that come about?
I mean, rather innocently,
Okay.
like yeah, I met someone there who, oddly enough, I ain't gonna name names, but oddly
Mm-hmm.
enough, like younger than us.
Okay.
And this is a friend. This is not someone I got in a relationship with or anything, but and she was married, and they're queer, and they had a polyamorous relationship, and I didn't just know that they had a polyamorous marriage. I actually got to see it. I actually
Okay.
kind of got to see how they work things with their other partners and everything. And it
Mm-hmm.
was just really interesting because, like, for me, it just kind of opened up a possibility, like, oh, that can work. Clearly, I've heard of it,
Yeah.
but like actually seeing it in action was like, huh, that could work. And then I eventually did meet someone who was also polyamorous. And at the time, I wasn't. I was just like, okay, I'm
Just kind
divorced
of
now. Let's find
exploring,
out what
seeing what's
happens.
out there.
And yeah, we entered a polyamorous relationship eventually as well. And I got to practice real fast and fell down on a lot of branches on the way down. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've learned a lot of lessons. And one thing I did decide to do is, like, if I'm going to do this, I want to know some stuff beyond just what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
So, read some books, followed some IG pages and stuff like that. I kind of still require that for anyone that I start, like, dating in any,
Mm-hmm.
serious capacity. It's like, we need to know stuff, and it can't just come from me. I can't be the one to teach you. You have to, like, learn it for yourself,
Yeah.
filter it through your own processor before you come to talk to me about it. So,
What lessons have you learned from polyamory?
ah, jealousy is a real emotion. People who don't experience jealousy, I don't believe that's real, if I'm being honest.
Mm.
But it's not
Is that because you
bad.
experience
Oh
jealousy
my God,
within these
absolutely.
relationships, or?
Absolutely. Yeah, I experienced jealousy in the relationships, but what I thought was beautiful about it, though, is that it required me to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of it just being like I'm not going to have to feel this feeling because we're committed to not seeing anyone else. We're just going to pretend that our attraction to other people doesn't exist when it does.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're going to have to deal with these things, and like, you deal with that, you have to do a lot of inner work, and it also causes you to learn how to communicate really well with vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
All
Because
great leadership
you
skills.
can certainly communicate with the accusations, like, you never do this and you do that and blah blah blah. It's much harder to say, I feel sad because when you went out with your other partner and I didn't hear from you in this amount of time, like, I was feeling somewhat of, like, I have to, like, really explain to you how I felt, not just
Mm-hmm.
what you did. like learning how to communicate that way and then actually doing it and being willing to hear the answers and work together, that is hard work.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you get in a monogamous relationship, which I don't like chide or anything, like monogamous relationships are also beautiful. But in a monogamous relationship, the security comes from the structure of the relationship. In polyamorous relationships, the structure provides no security, which means the security has to come from the work you do together. And that is very challenging and also quite beautiful. Because like when you get that security, you know it's earned and it's continuous and it makes love a verb. You have to keep doing the work and not work like I remember during marriage hearing this phrase a lot, marriage is all about sacrifice. And I was like, you mean the most important relationship in my life is all about when I'm gonna give up? That's weird. That's really weird. So I was like, what about like accommodation? What about collaboration? Where we don't come at it like, what are you going to give up? What am I going to give up? But we come at it like, how do we both get what we want? Oftentimes you can do that. Sometimes you're going to have to give stuff up. I get it. Right. But why would I come at it that way in the first place?
Yeah.
You come at it from the first place. Like, how do I ensure that you can have what you need? How do I ensure that I can have what I need? And let's work to actually do that. Even when it seems like they're contradictory, oftentimes they're not, and polyamory helped me to like really practice that in a way that I hadn't practiced before. And like where I'm at now, like, I'm not sure if I'm going to end up in another polyamorous relationship again or not. What I know is that I'm not going to be seeking a monogamous relationship as if that's the pinnacle. Like that's what relationships are supposed to be.
Yeah. You're just more open to other types of relationships out there.
Yeah. I'm open and I need a partner who is emotionally intelligent, willing to take accountability, because men who are emotionally intelligent take accountability and model that behavior. I'm told we're rare, but I'm also, but it's like, okay, women say they want that, but then they get that and it's like, ooh, I don't know what to do with that. I've experienced that. Right? Like, don't fully know what to do with me because like I'm speaking in ways of holding ourselves accountable, and it's not just like, hey, it's like me, right? I'm going to be accountable. You brought a thing to me, I'm accountable. I apologize and I change behavior. I'm expecting the same thing. It doesn't always translate, but patriarchy.
Yeah. That's the answer for everything at the end. Just throw patriarchy on the end of
capitalism, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
See, it's capitalism. There's patriarchy and there's anti-blackness. It's all a thing.
Yeah. So you made a comment to me that you have never been anyone's boss before.
Nah, I've never been a boss.
That is crazy. In your 20-year career, you have never been anyone's boss.
Nope.
Really? I can't even imagine what that is like. Like, I can't even imagine that.
Kind of great.
But yet, as we've talked about throughout this conversation, you've been a leader.
Oh, yeah.
And you've led from where you were at.
Yes.
So how do you display leadership when you're not managing people?
I believe it really comes from wanting to accomplish something. Like, I know there's people who like, by the time I turn this age, I want to be at this level of management or own my own business or whatever. And that's cool, right? My drive has always been like, how do I make the most positive impact for the most people? Usually students, still in education. So yeah, that's just been my drive. So wherever I find myself is like, how can I be positive here? So I've reached pretty high levels. Like I'm an expert, a subject matter expert, so to speak, right? But not because I was striving to be that. I was striving to do good. That was it, right? Like I really lead from like a mission. Like there was some exercise where I was asked like to talk about what my leadership drive is. And the ancestors told me, and I've been saying it ever since, is like my North Star is liberation. Everything I do is about empowering people to be free, even inside of systems that don't want them to be free. Like I talk at work a lot about how a system that produces the same results over and over again is not a system that needs fixing. It's working. It's working exactly as intended. No, that's a system that needs to be broken. And I'm very clear in these systems telling people I want to break them. they're not working for me. You know, they're not working for kids who look like me, etc. And I lead from that. And because I articulate it so well, I'm kind of cute. People like my voice. I'm able to get away with
Anything
that.
else?
Nah, that's all tongue in cheek. But no, I really mean it. And I really feel like people can sense that when I'm speaking about these things, I really do mean it. So this is not like some show I'm putting on. I don't care about how things appear. I care so much about what things actually are and the experiences that people are able to have at work, at school, etc. I just want to make it so that people have the best experience they possibly can have and feel powerful in it.
Yeah. And I love your story so much because every time we talk about leadership, a lot of times people think of it from a perspective of, I'm a leader because I'm someone's boss.
Right.
I'm a leader because I get to tell people what to do. People follow me, right? And now I'm a leader. And we know that leadership deconstructed is so many different things. There's so many aspects of leadership that have nothing to do with actually managing people. Right. It's about a confidence. It's about possessing an inner security. It is about doing the right thing, and about being able to give difficult feedback. It's able to be independent, be able to make tough decisions. There's so many different facets of leadership. Absolutely. And I love your story because you're someone who stands out to me as someone who's been leading your whole life in different ways, whether you were leading being one of the sole Black people in a town of white people in rural Nebraska, or leading, you know, as a teacher and leading students, leading in your fraternity, you know, leading in your marriage, leading, you know, in the dissolution of your marriage, leading as a father. There's so much leadership in your story that is just really inspiring. And I think people need to be able to get rid of the, I'm a leader because I have a chief in my title. Right. You know, or I'm climbing the corporate ladder, and when I get to the top rung, now I'm a leader.
Right. Yeah. No, you can be a leader wherever you are. And another important aspect of leadership to me is, like, you know, that expression, I can't remember who said it, but people don't remember what you said. They don't remember what you did for them. They remember how you made them feel. And that's how I lead, right? Because I don't just try to make people feel good in this like really random, like frou-frou way. I want to try to help people feel good in a way that makes them feel powerful, that they can solve their problems. Yeah. You know, that they are the change that they've been waiting for, that I don't need you to feel good about me. That's nice though. I like when people like me. It's nice. Yeah. But if you walk away from our experience feeling even better about yourself and what you're capable of doing and the good you can, you know, implement wherever you are, that's when I feel like I'm the most successful. Yeah. Like one of my favorite stories, somewhat recent years, it's a work story. I speak a certain way. I stand on business at all times when it comes to things at work. And one of the things that I do is framing, right? In a podcast I heard a long time ago was Alicia Garza's podcast. What's that one called? Lady Don't Take No. I love that podcast. Okay. She had Rashad Robinson. He was the founder of Color of Change, I believe. Okay. And something that he said in the podcast that like really, really stuck with me was like, you know, most people they frame it as like, Black people are less likely to get bank loans and at this percent, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, but that puts the onus on Black people and they didn't make that choice. The way that you should say that is banks are less likely to lend to Black people and put the onus where it belongs. So that's how I talk in education speak. It's not that Black kids earn lower, you know, achievement scores, lower math scores, etc. Our system produces lower achievement scores for Black kids. That's what I say. And I say it that way all the time, right? Like, and it makes people uncomfortable. And I don't budge. I say it with kindness. I say it with empathy, but I don't budge. That is what's happening here. It's not the kids, it's the system. Yeah. One time, one of my white colleagues who has heard me speak like this a lot, brought to me a presentation he was doing. He was like, yeah, I'm doing this presentation about graduation rates and blah, blah, blah. I want you to look over it, see what you think before I give it to our community superintendent. And I was like, cool. I did that. And to my surprise, the way that he framed it in the presentation was, this system is producing this. Mm-hmm. I remember what was really funny to me is that he also took it to one of our English language arts specialists. I had to not say ELA, our English language arts specialist. And this person recommending that he use more passive language as it comes to our system. And I was like, you mean an English teacher is telling you to use passive language? That's crazy. I've never heard of that. Yeah. But again, this is that uncomfortable thing, like taking ownership of, inequitable results. That's hard for people to do, but he stood on business, not me. I did not tell him to say, hey, this is the way you need to say it. And, oh, you got that feedback? Hey, don't listen to that. Do this. I didn't do any of that. Mm-hmm. I just had a good relationship with this person. And I stood on business every time I spoke, to where that happened without me being involved anymore. Like, that to me is real leadership. Because I didn't tell him what he had to do. He decided to do that.
Yeah, and with your influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that to me are the biggest victories. Is like, I don't have the authority to tell you what to do. You chose to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because what I said, where I stand, it makes sense to you now. And now you're going to fight for that. It's not just me. What
does breaking rank mean to you? Or what's an example of when you broke rank?
Yeah. I think that there is a big difference between power and authority. Mm-hmm. And I believe people equate them or conflate them, either way. I try to do the best job I can, never to leave power that belongs to me, even when it is with a person who has authority over me. There are times, and I don't want to tell too many specific stories, but there are definitely times where I had authority having to submit to my power because I didn't give it up. I just wasn't going to give up my power. And that to me is really breaking rank, because really I should submit for the most part, and everywhere where I have to submit, because I am a subordinate, I do. Mm-hmm. I do the job you tell me to do. But I'm not going to say something different than what it actually is because you don't like that. Mm-hmm. No, I'm going to stay there.
You do it in a way that's authentic to you.
It's very authentic and it's respectful. Yeah. I'm just not going to move, right? And I think people not only respect that, and I think some people hate it, but I do think at the end of the day, people respect that because I am not being disrespectful. I am not trying to buck up against your authority because I don't, I think I'm big and bad. I just have a core set of values that I'm not going to betray. Mm-hmm. And people like that at the end of the day, even if it's inconvenient for them.
Yeah,
they do respect that at the end of the day. And it's hard, right? Because you can suffer for that. I know I have. I still have a job, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could probably advance further in my career, move even higher up if I played the game differently. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should, but I need to find a way to do that where I don't have to give up on my core set of values. That's all. Because I'm just not going to budge on those.
I love that. What is one last thing that you think the audience should be aware of when it comes to leadership based on your experiences?
Leadership isn't really about you. It's about the people you lead. So if you're hoping to lead because you want the accolades, it may work. I don't know. Especially if you play the game well, It may work. But if you actually want to see some things done, if you actually want to make a positive impact, focus on that. You'll rise up to where you need to rise if you focus on how are you going to serve the people around you. One thing that our organizations, Zeta Phi Beta Sigma, taught us about was servant leadership. And that really resonated with me. Yeah. Being a person who grew up Christian, and I'm certainly fiercely non-religious now, but Jesus is still a model for me because Jesus is a Black revolutionary who was murdered by the state. I can get with that. He was a brown man from Palestine. Like, what are we talking about? I mean, and who killed him? Rome did, And it's funny too. I like talking that way because this is the way my dad talked, and I did not understand it when I was a kid. So this is just kind of a call back to him. I remember my dad saying stuff like, "Yeah, America is Babylon, the second coming of Babylon." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I recently thought about this, and I meant to call my uncle. It's like y'all didn't have the internet back then. Who was telling y'all this stuff? But it's wild. Like they were really ahead of their time. I really love that.
Yeah, because I thought we were going this way, and then you just.
I did. I mean, anyway, I have a lot of thoughts on Christianity, anti-blackness, and how it is the linchpin for the global capitalist system that we have, etc. But I will say that as a person who still uses Jesus as a model, like he said that he didn't come here to be worshipped. He came here to serve. He didn't come here to be served. That's how I move. And I feel like whether you're a Christian or not, I think it's pretty undeniable that story resonates with so many people of coming here not to be served, but to serve, and the legacy that's left.
So you lead like Jesus.
I do my best to lead like Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my version of Jesus. Though.
Okay.
Some of y'all follow a version of Jesus that I cannot ascribe to. You know who you are.
Well, thank you so much, Jeffrey, for being on our show today. It's been great to have you. I love our conversations. I always leave feeling enlightened. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I'm glad that you all were able to listen to this conversation about how you can lead from where you're at, how you can lead without authority, how you can lead without permission, and how you can lead without a title. So I hope today's conversation shared real perspectives on leadership and how leadership can take many different forms. I hope that you engage, that you subscribe, that you share, that you like, and that you listen. But most of all, thank you so much for being part of the Breaking Rank audience. And this has been Breaking Rank.